It is 6:32. Reactions still coming in after last night's debate between Vice President Harris and former President Trump. To help us break down everything, political analyst Steve Swatt. Steve, we rely on your observations, your counsel in matters like this. So you watched, a lot of people watched it. It was must-see TV. What's your immediate takeaway after it ended?
Well, it certainly was good political theater. And now, if you go back to 1960, when the first televised debates happened, ever since, these debates have been about style as well as substance. And they usually don't move the needle very much at all. One major exception, of course, being that June 27th debate where President Biden imploded.
That moved the needle.
That definitely moved the needle. Yeah. But what happens is that you take your personal biases in with you as you watch this debate. And so the arguments reinforce those biases. So people hear what they want to hear and then ignore the rest.
Well, so let me ask you that. You have people who are already locked in on what they're going to do. Many people, some people saying that Harris got the better of Donald Trump in that. Does it really matter? Because you're trying to reach those small undecideds. Were the undecideds, do you think, moved at all last night?
Well, we don't know that yet. We'll find out in a couple of days when the polling comes out. But what was really interesting is that the day of the debate, a poll came out that indicated 30% of viewers wanted to learn more about Kamala Harris.
Okay.
And so that obviously was an opportunity for her, but also a risk for her. And I think she acquitted herself very well. She came across as very dynamic, as aspirational, as she kept her composure, like when former President Trump called her
a Marxist.
A Marxist who hates America. And so she did a very good job. And so if there were people on the fence, you know, maybe she picks up 1% or 2%. But in a contest that is a dead heat, that's important.
I would say the first 20 minutes was tit for tat. They were going back and forth. And then it seemed that the President Trump sort of went off the rails a little bit over the Haitian immigrants eating pets in Springfield, Ohio. It seemed then that he moved into a different headspace at that point.
Well, it's interesting because he had, you know, 3 big issues that he wanted to get across, I think. One was the fracking issue, especially in Pennsylvania, where she was against it and now she's for it. And he talked about the inconsistency. Then there was the border, and I think he undercut his arguments when, you know, with hyperbole. Now, President Trump, hyperbole? Oh, yeah. That shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. But when he's talking about millions of people, you know, basically murderers and rapists and, you know, coming into this country, and then he throws out this story about the Haitian immigrants eating cats, and he had to be fact-checked on that. You know, I think that undercuts his argument. On inflation also, on several occasions he said inflation under Biden-Harris was the worst in U.S. history. Well, it wasn't the worst in U.S. history. Yes, it's bad, but some old-timers like me remember the last few years of the Carter administration when inflation was like twice as much. And so I think he undercut himself a little bit, and then he felt he fell for some of her tricks, shall we say? She mentions crowds. She mentions crowd size, and he has to start talking about crowd size.
Well, he mentioned at one point that she was having people bust in, and that her crowd sizes weren't that big. I mean, you can watch a Harris appearance and see that there are a fair amount of people there, and make your own determinations as to, you know, the size of all that. Do you feel they'll debate again?
You know, my guess is no. Harris said after this debate, she felt she did so well, yeah, let's debate again. She doesn't, I don't think she needs to necessarily now. I think she has introduced herself pretty well to the American public. He might feel that maybe he needs a second chance, but my guess is they'll argue over some issues, and we probably won't see another debate.
But at this point in time, even though some say she may have won the debate, this is still anybody's race.
Oh, yeah.
He could very easily be the next president.
That's right.
Easily.
And some prognosticators, at least before the debate, were saying, yes, he should be favored.
Well, last night's debate is going to be yesterday's news, starting maybe tomorrow. So we'll have to see what comes up going forward as we get moving through this campaign. All right, Steve Swatt, political analyst. Always good to see you, Steve. Thank you.